I usually hit the automatically record button when I'm setting it up, but I didn't this time because we were going into executive session. So I was just going to do it manually. And of course I forgot. So
Okay, but the entire meeting will be recorded.
yes.
Okay.
The only time it's not recorded is in executive session. We may not need to go into executive session since both have agreed that their resume can be a public document. That would, actually, we can leave that up to them when we get. Pardon me?
Discussion, I think our discussion should be in executive when we're making the decision, I think we should be in executive session.
Well, so there's kind of strict rules on what's allowed in executive session. And I'm being told this is not exactly executive session, but because they were going to be bringing in documents, but then those documents are public anyway. It doesn't really matter.
But Lynn, after we talk to the candidates and that's recorded, we would go into executive session to make a decision. That should not be recorded, should it? Our discussion about the pros and cons of each candidate?
From what I understand, it is not executive session material.
I
don't
find
feel
that hard to
comfortable being
believe.
recorded. I don't feel comfortable having that discussion recorded.
Neither do I. That doesn't
Neither
make
would our,
sense.
if we were meeting in person, it wouldn't be recorded.
I agree.
If we were meeting in person, I would think we would ask the candidates to leave the room for us to.
Right. I mean, I don't want any candidates or anybody else in town for that matter to be able to look up a recording and see what we said about pros and cons of both of the candidates that we just interviewed. That's weird.
I'm going to make a quick phone call to confirm, but I did just confirm this morning.
That's why I asked if the whole thing was going to be recorded, because I thought that would be weird also, but I've never done this before. This is the first commission I've ever been on, so.
Julia, when you all were doing and John, when you were all doing the selection of the interim director, was
Yeah.
all of your discussions recorded? Or were you even aware that your discussions were being recorded if they were?
Our discussions about the candidates and our discussions before the candidates joined, no, that was all executive session. And it actually might be helpful, like if we're going to do something like this again, to have Joyce Kearns be on, because she's extremely fluent in all of the roles, and she was the one to take us in and out of executive session and to guide us on those things, since it was relatively new to most of us.
It's
That's
probably worth pointing out that that did not happen when you guys were picking the interim director. So I don't see why it should happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we also had a list. We rated each person and then gave the total score. We didn't.
But we also didn't make the list or our total scores public either, which were
Right, exactly.
the notes
Exactly.
taken during it. I don't think I would ever agree to being on it if that were something that were shared.
Well, and theoretically, those voting sheets, based on what Lynn just said, would have been public documents,
Yep,
but they're not. So
exactly.
I think we have to follow what we did for I'll wait for Lynn to come back. Would make sense to follow whatever we did for the previous search committee.
Yeah.
I think,
I don't
Julia,
Julia,
I think,
yeah.
I think we sent those in.
I know. All good. I'm with you.
Julia, I think we sent those in, didn't we? I sent mine to Joyce.
Yeah, to Joyce, but Joyce didn't make those
Right.
public.
Yeah, okay. But they have it.
And I'd also say, like, just before we start this, I think we should all be aware too, like, we keep talking about these people as the candidates, and we
Right.
are trying to figure out who's best for this, but we should also remember that, like, both Lara and Gonzo are volunteers right now, and they're doing something to help our commission. So maybe when we guide our conversations, like, I think it's really nice that they even shared resumes with us for something like this.
absolutely, it's hard to choose between two people who want to help.
Yeah, and I was thinking, in that, thinking about looking at the commission and the role of the commission and how we're structured, since we have 2 candidates right now who are willing to participate, maybe one of them, of course, this is something we have to discuss, but maybe we could use both of their energy, one for looking at one dimension of who we are, the commission, and the other looking at the other dimension, which is the director. Not saying we're discussing that now, but I'm just putting it out there so we could maybe talk about it at our next meeting.
Yeah.
Julie, I think your idea of having Joyce is a really good one because we spend an awful lot of time on these meetings talking about what the rules are.
Maybe we should just not be having meetings if she's not with us.
Excuse me?
We were discussing having Joyce on the meetings because
Okay.
she knows the protocol, and maybe we shouldn't be having meetings without Joyce, since seems to be the most well-versed in the rules, because oftentimes we spend a lot of time figuring the rules out. I'm just recapping, Lynn, some of the discussion we were just having.
Yeah, I don't know if Joyce has the time to do that. Not part of her job.
I had just said she was very helpful during the hiring subcommittee, taking us in and out of
Absolutely.
executive
Yep.
session.
And Lynn, the hiring subcommittee, when, Miranda was chosen, were all of those discussions and deliberations, and Julia seems to think that you went into executive session and did not record that.
Right.
So-
That was different. That's personnel. This is just finding a fifth seat for a simple subcommittee. Like, we didn't even ask for resumes for commissioners, so.
That's true.
All right, Lara is on. I'm admitting her now. Hi, Lara.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
So,
So,
Hi, Laura. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, absolutely. Thanks for the invite.
so this is our first candidate. This is Lara Hanson. Laura, we are going to keep, unless you choose to go into executive session, we are going to keep this public. Since you did confirm that it was okay to have your resume sent out to the members, which would then make it a public document. That's basically what we're going to be discussing. So it's all in the public anyway. We may go into executive session later and we will discuss that. But if you wouldn't mind, just give us a little bit of your bio, your background, and why you would like to be on this hiring subcommittee.
And Lara, I don't want you to feel like you're repeating yourself. The blurb that you did share was not shared with this commission, so don't feel like they saw any of that.
Okay, no problem. First of all, thank you for the time, everyone. It's very exciting to meet. I'm not seeing any men, so oh wait, there's a John Grant. Okay, I was just scrolling through who's on the call.
We have another guy too, but he's not here.
Okay. No, just to meet people that are helping guide this town. It's obviously such an important task that everyone has, and I'm excited to be considered to help assist. So my background, I've been a Kent resident for 5 years. I'm a Los Angeles native, came out to play college hoops in New York City, attended Fordham University, did undergrad and grad school. I now work in technology, managing innovation for a technology company. I'd work locally like most of us through COVID, especially. I also have 2 little ones, a 2 and a 4-year-old. They previously went to school in Warren. We have a lot of ties with the Warren community, Warren Park and Rec, because that's where my husband grew up. And my offices and the kids were over there, but I'm excited. They're going to be moving to KCENS in August. And so especially given my background, both as an athlete and a community member with children, I'm very excited to start getting more engaged with the town, seeing how my background can support any of the initiatives that are coming up, especially with a selection committee. But just generally speaking, as I indicated in my email, we're looking forward as a family just to getting more involved with Kent. I guess the other thing as a footnote on my resume, I am a board member, and I don't think there's a conflict with this, but I am a board member for the Foundation for Community Health. We are a board that was spun out of Sharon Hospital. And so we actually fund nonprofits in the community, and Kent is a part of our jurisdiction. So we cover from Warren over through the northwest corner, and we are looking to support organizations and communities in this area for things like community engagement, right? Foundation for Community Health. So it's all about community health. But I think joining that board has given me a lot more insight into challenges and opportunities that we have in these rural communities. That I think may help, just give me additional insight as far as where I can be supportive. Is that helpful, Lynn? Did I cover the main bases?
I think so.
Okay, great.
Does anybody have any questions for Lara?
I was just thinking, part of the charge for this subcommittee is going to be thinking through a job description and just any relevant experience you might have in thinking through organizational structures or job descriptions or management would be helpful.
Absolutely. So I work hand in hand with my company's team as far as hiring and identifying talent, cultivating talent, and being able to help kind of put the guidelines together as far as what we're looking for. So I do have some background. It's not something I do specifically as a day-to-day role, but definitely as far as understanding what are challenges and opportunities, basically, and the right sorts of people with not just their backgrounds, but the right personalities and community ties to help kind of achieve whatever those objectives are.
Thanks.
Yep.
Laura, I have a question for you. As you think ahead to possibly being a member of this subcommittee and interviewing and speaking to candidates for the position, what do you think your questions would focus on? What would be the things that you would be interested in knowing about a candidate that would move them up or down on your list for eventual recommendation or selection?
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, I think having a strong background in this area, if possible. I'm not really sure the kinds of candidates that are coming available, but definitely someone that understands what is a rural community, right? What are again, challenges and opportunities? Do they have background from a management perspective as far as taking an objective and executing it into completion? But then also with the community itself, I think being a member of this community and understanding some of the existing, spaces, right? The different locations around the community, what are some of those objectives? And then also the events. I don't believe this group is charged with the champagne stroll, but that was actually one of the things that put Kent on the map for my husband and I. When we were looking at communities in this area, we happened on the champagne stroll. We were like, wow, Kent seems to be, a very friendly community, loved, read more about the organized events. And then actually our first order of business after that was to go see the school. Fell in love with the sleeping giant that sits behind the school. And then also over to the tennis courts. We both played college basketball, so not having a basketball hoop in the town proper was, not ideal. But the courts over at the Kent school are fantastic. And I guess I didn't include that in my background as well. I have helped coach the Kent Center School, the girls basketball team at the Kent School. And I also started with Leslie, a toddler hoops camp that we held over at the Kent School. Just because the feeling was the toddler community was not necessarily being served with opportunities to create community for that age group. So that's definitely something that interests me. And I would be curious in a candidate, back to your question, right? What is, are they looking at all of the communities and making sure we're developing programming, not just for certain groups, but we're keeping all groups in mind.
Thank you.
Saying, I just want to clarify, when you're saying communities, you're talking about like the various audiences within Kent.
Absolutely. Yep.
Any other questions for Lara?
Lynn, I love your poster, by the way. That's great. I need one of those.
What? Clint Eastwood?
Yes.
My favorite. Thank you.
Yeah.
Laura, any time constraints over the next couple of months, or times you're going to be away, or anything like that as the committee thinks about that? Not that it's a break,
Yeah.
Make or break.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're full timers. I don't know, I'm assuming that's apparent. But we are here full time. My children, I'm so excited, are starting school August 30th. Hopefully this variant stays in check. So we are here. I'm hoping to take a small vacation, but unfortunately my husband's gearing up for his big season. He, as an athletic director, they start football at the end of August. So we're entering our busy season for his work. So we are local, for better or worse.
Is he the Kent AD?
No, Fordham University.
Oh, Fordham, great.
Yeah, so yep. Yeah, we both played college hoops there. And then he went to Brown for 6 years, Columbia, and then back to Fordham, where we reconnected. And when we decided to have a family, we wanted to find a great place to live and decided on Kent.
All that free flowing champagne.
Exactly.
Sorry, Diane, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I have construction going on and a barking dog, so I apologize.
No
You
problem.
said you've been a resident for 5 years?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I think Blythe covered the question that I was gonna ask, so.
Awesome.
Welcome to Kent. I haven't met you, but I've been only here for about 5 years myself, so.
Yeah, we're so lucky in so many ways. And I thought that before COVID. And I'm just, now that I'm through my first 2 children, there will not be any more. If anyone has a question, we're done. But now I feel like we can really become invested in the community, because we've kind of gotten over that hurdle, which I think is, for people that are moms, understand that that's challenging. But once the kids are in school, it frees up more time. So we're definitely excited, whether it's this subcommittee or other work. We're really just excited to get involved in general and see how we can support the town.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Awesome. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I think Gonzo's on the line, just so you know, Lynn.
Yep.
He's at the meeting.
Yep.
No matter how this plays out, you're gonna be a fabulous asset to this town.
Oh, thank you.
Well, you are already, I should say. You might have been here longer than me, so.
No, it's such a great town, and I think there's so many opportunities, and it's exciting that there's a group of people looking to guide the ship. So I'm happy to be supportive in whatever ways we can be.
Perfect. All right, hearing no more questions, Laura, well, thank you. You can stay on or leave, whichever you prefer to do.
I'll jump. Thank you for the time, Lynn. Great to meet you. Looking forward to meeting everyone in person, hopefully at Giffords or around town or on the subcommittee.
Great. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
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 All right, our next candidate is Gonzo.
Hello all.
Hey, Gonzo.
Hey, sorry to jump on
Bye.
a little too early, maybe.
You're fine. That was for executive session, and since both candidates were okay with their resumes being public document, there really wasn't a lot of need to go into executive session.
Cool.
So I was able to send out the resumes to the group just a little bit ago. So if you could give us a quick rundown of that and tell us about you and why you would like to be on the subcommittee.
Sure, no problem. So I was blessed with my parents in the good old days. We didn't get to choose what school we went to. Our parents told us what schools we went to. So they found South Kent for me many years ago. And I luckily fell in love with the area, the school, and decided to come back after college. That's kind of where I've been for many, many years. So it's been a blast. Held many positions there at the school. And then a number of years ago, a crazy man named Paul Cortese asked me if I wanted to get involved with some more public stuff. And that's where the beginning of my tenure on the Kent Center School Board of Ed started. And with that, then came the volunteering as a park and rec coach in town. So that pretty much covers the light end of my involvement with both the community and the school. So it's been just over 20 years here in Kent.
Questions for Gonzo?
Gonzo, I'll ask you. It's Blythe.
Yeah, Blythe.
Hi. You have been, I know, in your roles at South Kent, you've been involved in hiring. And so I wonder what might be top of the list things that you would have as a member of this subcommittee in your head in terms of what you'd be looking for that would be the characteristics for the next Park and Rec director to have. What would move them up or down your list in terms of things they were able to offer, or what would you be looking for?
Oh, great question, Blythe. I think the first thing is always, that dedication. I always like to look at experience, but it's not something that I think a lot of people always have. I don't usually see a lot of park and rec directors bouncing around, but definitely experience managing volunteers, parents, and expectations. Those are things that I would always be looking for. It has to be an absolute people person. It's tough shoes to fill with Leslie. She hooked me in pretty early, and worked with her for many years. So you have to be able to have that, that aspect, or that the ability to both communicate, also work with all these different people.
Thanks.
Sure. If I'm not looking at you guys, it's just keep my eyes on the road. So that's all it is. You just have to go pick up the kids at camp.
Do you have any time conflicts as far as when we will be meeting?
Yes. I mean, I'm sure 100%. I go through that with the Board of Ed. I go with it, with my school, obviously. My school, my work, that always that comes first. It's never been a conflict, so I've been very fortunate. I'm not sure. Are we finally going to be kind of in person? Do you guys know? Or if it's going to be Zoom, obviously that makes everything much more convenient.
You're breaking up, Gonzo. Can you say that again? I think you're frozen
sure.
now.
I was just saying yes. I mean, am I frozen?
No, you're good. Just your picture is, not your voice.
Okay. Good. I was just going to say, yes, are there conflicts? Always. But I've always been able to manage those with Board of Ed and schools. Work comes first. And I'll get slapped. It probably should be family first, then work. But so there is going to be an opportunity. So, but if it's in person, I've always been able to make it work. If it's in Zoom, if it's virtual like we're doing, much easier.
Gonzo, hi, it's Abigail, and
Hey.
nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. A question we're asking is, what part of the charge of the committee is to write a job description? And we just wanted to hear if you have any previous experience putting a job description together, and if so, how you approach that. I assume
lots for the school. So I've done that many times for many positions in the school. So And you know, I just approach that with the team. I always, what are we looking for? How do we fill that? And then making sure that all those points are well communicated and documented for the candidate.
Thanks.
My pleasure.
Gonzo, you've been in town a long time. What's number one on your priority list? What do you think? What are we missing that you would love to see coming to Kent?
What are we missing? I don't think we're missing anything. That's my honest opinion. I don't think we're missing anything. That's what makes it perfect. It's such a great location. I mean, my kids have not lacked or missed on any opportunity. None of our friends, nobody else that has mentioned anything to me has mentioned anything about a lacking outside of a McDonald's, which I wouldn't want that either. But
That wasn't meant to be a trick question, by the way.
no, I know. I'm just being, completely honest. I've been very fortunate to live in many different places around the world. Kent's home.
All right. Any other questions for Gonzo?
No, and I would agree with him that it's a perfect spot. Again, nothing to
I
possibly
would,
improve it.
If I could, not that I don't want this. I would love the opportunity to work with you. I would love the opportunity to work with Lynn. But if there's someone like Laura, right, who's that eager, really wants to get involved in stuff, and if this is like, I don't know how you guys are formulating this. If it's only coming down to one of us, I'm saying go for it. Choose her. I'm always going to be at the ready or able to help or be. You can always call Gonzo for any advice or questions, things like that. But if there's an opportunity to engage somebody else, like I said, I'm already engaged with the Board of Ed. I'm already doing some other crazy stuff. So we get more people involved. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I'm not going to worry about any of that.
We're really grateful to have you. Oh, sorry, Julia.
I think we were saying the same thing. That's really awesome of you to say that.
I know a few of you, so yeah, no, my pleasure.
Even your openness in our last meeting to chat. I've got more questions, especially now that I see that you went to the D school. I work with Stanford often and would love to hear your experience.
Go. That's it. Go.
When we do go back to talking about the soccer program and stuff, we can invite Gonzo to our next meeting if you guys want to do that. Because I know you had more questions for him and he's a good resource.
Book him now.
I can also
Whatever you need. Lynn's got my information. We've known each other for many years. So. Yeah, I'm not saying I don't want the position. I'm more than happy to help. I'm just making sure it's one of those things that's between two people, get more people involved.
Anything else for Gonzo? Any other questions, statements, comments? All right,
Town is lucky to have him.
absolutely.
Thank you. Vote for Pedro. Don't forget. No, that's bad.
For Paige.
All righty. There's
Bye,
no
guys.
more. All right, Gonzo, thank you.
Thanks, Gonzo.
Thank you.
Well, Lynn, I'll see you guys soon. See you, Blythe.
Okay,
Bye. all.
bye-bye. So, we have our two, let's see. So as I started saying before, the reason that the executive session was done for the interim director is because they are actually personnel. There's a fine line between this and this doesn't necessarily, it's on that line of executive session or not. So you guys tell me.
You guys asked amazing questions, first of all, which was great. I
Lynn,
think,
oh, good. I was gonna say, I think if we have the opportunity to talk about things, if you're giving us the vote of whether we talk about this on recording or not, I would prefer not recorded.
I agree with Blythe.
And understand that there's a fine line between it, what executive session is.
Yes, and I think that universally, this group, at least Kate, Blythe, Julia, and myself have all said that we would prefer to have this discussion not recorded.
I agree with that.
100%.
Okay.
Make a motion, we move into executive session.
Oops, hang on. Okay, we're still recording. Can I have a second for that, please?
I second it.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any
Who seconded
opposed?
that? Abigail, did you second that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Opposed is 1.
Who's opposed? I'm sorry.
Lynn,
Okay, Lynn. Motion to,
And cut out the recording.
John, okay,
1 second.
John, and